Magnesium is one of the most important minerals in the body for a lot of functions. And if someone supplements with the right type of magnesium in the right circumstance for their specific body chemistry, they can really turn some significant problems around. Problems that a lot of people will tell you that you can't fix. We've talked about a lot of those issues on this channel. But what's important to understand is that more than 90% of the people taking magnesium are likely making one or more of the mistakes that we're going to talk about in this video. So we're going to talk about things like constipation and digestion and insomnia and pain and fatigue, and we'll even dig into the importance of the bioavailability of the magnesium being supplemented with. We'll also go over different types of magnesium and the best use for those magnesium and when those can be really beneficial and really harmful. So what we want to understand is that magnesium is not magic, it's not sorcery, it's not a calming or a laxative mineral like people tell you. Magnesium is actually changing imbalances in the body. It can correct those imbalances. It can correct specific malfunctions. So magnesium itself is not a laxative. It's not going to make your bowels move better. What it's going to do is it's going to bring more water to the bowels, and that helps those bowels move easier. Magnesium is not calming, but if a person is stuck in a fight or flight state all the time, when you can correct that imbalance, that can really calm that person down. So we don't want to view magnesium as like, oh, I just take this and it's magic. Everybody told me it was just going to fix this. It really doesn't do that. But when we learn to work with our body and the specific bio-individuality that we have, then magnesium can really do some amazing things. But in the same way that magnesium has the ability to improve some of these imbalances, if a person is balanced and they take too much magnesium, they're going to create imbalances. They're going to create health problems by supplementing with too much magnesium. So let's look at these first two mistakes together. And the first mistake is taking magnesium at the wrong time, and the second mistake is working against your body chemistry. So in order to figure out what's appropriate for us, we have to understand the mechanisms that magnesium has the ability to move in the body. So it was Dr. Emanuel Revisi who helped us understand that the body has this natural circadian rhythm at the cellular level. So during the day, the body should be in what's called a catabolic state. And this is when the body is very good at creating energy and kind of keeping us going all day. And then at night, the body should move into what's called an anabolic state. And this is where the body is very good at sleeping and resting, but also rebuilding and repairing. So we can see that both of these states are very important. The problem is, if some people get stuck in one of these states, or maybe their body's just pushed way too far into one of these states, it has the ability to create a wide variety of health issues. So in this conversation, we need to understand that magnesium is one of the most pro-catabolic minerals that there is. That means it pushes the body more into that catabolic state. What we also need to understand is that when we look at symptoms like constipation or insomnia, we need to understand that each of those things has 4, 5, 6 different underlying causes that can be creating that. The underlying cause for constipation is not always the same for every person. So if we're looking at a person that is already overly catabolic, we need to understand that in that overly catabolic state, the body will tend to send more water to the bowels and less to the kidneys. In an overly anabolic state, the body will send more of the water to the kidneys and less to the bowels. And now those bowels are going to get hard and dry and more difficult to move. So if a person takes magnesium and pushes their body more into that catabolic state, now more water to go to the bowels, and they can improve that constipation issue. But they haven't done anything to actually improve their digestion. In a lot of cases, chronic constipation is also caused by a lack of stomach acid, which means now that stool is more alkaline and it will move slower through the system. And a person might not be making stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. But that stomach acid is also very important to help us digest and break that food down so that we can get the nutrients out of that food. So if someone is just pounding themselves with magnesium to fix this constipation problem, yes, they're eventually going to send enough water to the bowels that it's going to shoot out the back door and lift them off the toilet like a rocket. Oh, I fixed my constipation, so I fixed my digestion. The problem is they didn't help their body break that food down and actually digest the food better, and they're now rushing it through the system so the body even has less time to assimilate the nutrients, so they actually made digestion worse. So we really want to understand what's causing the problem for us. We use magnesium for chronic constipation all the time when the client is leaning too far on that anabolic side. We want to correct that imbalance. But we want to look at the whole picture and understand that there are other malfunctions that are contributing to that constipation. But if a person is stuck way too far in this catabolic state and they supplement with magnesium, the most pro-catabolic mineral that there is, then they're just going to throw gas on the fire. They're going to magnify that problem. So magnesium is not going to be a calming mineral for someone who's stuck in a catabolic state. Is running to the bathroom with diarrhea all day calming for you? Is staying awake for 3 days at a time calming that person? If someone's really stuck in that awake mode all the time, that has the ability to create insomnia. An overly catabolic state is a very common sign of insomnia that we see. So people tell them, oh, just take magnesium. It's this calming mineral. It's going to fix insomnia. And they take magnesium and they're awake for days at a time. So don't just listen to me. Go over to our video on why magnesium for sleep is bad, and you'll see hundreds of comments there. And half of the comments are people like, you're so dumb. Everybody knows you're supposed to use magnesium before bed to sleep. We're supposed to do that. And the other half of the people are like, oh my gosh, I was using magnesium. They told me to just keep doing it. It's going to work eventually. I was awake for days at a time. I just stopped the magnesium and then I was able to sleep. Or I just moved the magnesium earlier in the day and it totally fixed my sleep. So we have to understand that magnesium has the ability to really improve 2 or 3 possible underlying causes for insomnia. So it's really going to help some people sleep much better. But when we look at some of the other causes, like a possible catabolic imbalance, we see that it's really going to magnify. So instead of just looking at the symptom that a person is dealing with, we need to look at the person. So we'll talk more about this sleep and magnesium issue when we talk about different types of magnesium, but we also want to look at other aspects of our body chemistry. If our blood is leaning too far on that alkaline side, or we're dealing with what's called an alkalosis issue, that has the ability to restrict our body from using that magnesium correctly. So when that blood is leaning too far on the alkaline side, it kind of makes this magnesium be bound to protein. And then the body can't utilize the magnesium like it should, and it's going to show symptoms of magnesium deficiency. So a person just starts cramming more magnesium in there, and it doesn't really fix the problem because they haven't fixed the alkalosis problem. So if that blood is leaning too far on the acidic side, that has the ability to cause the body to pee out too much of our magnesium. So an easy way to look at this is just look at the breath rate. You can just set your timer on your phone for like a minute and just relax, try to breathe normally, and just count the number of inhales in that minute. Don't count inhale 1, exhale 2, just count the inhales. Now this is not a diagnostic thing, but it's something you can do at home to get an idea, is the pH of my blood maybe leaning too far in either direction? So if you count fewer than 12 breaths in that minute, that's a sign that the blood could be leaning too far on that alkaline side. More than 18 inhales in that minute, that's a sign that the blood could be leaning too far on that acidic side. But you can see either of those circumstances are going to restrict the body's ability to use magnesium the way that it wants to, and it's going to create some troubles. I'm not going to get too deep into looking at the body chemistry in this video. We've talked about that in a lot of other videos. But if you're new to this channel and you don't know how to do that, my book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, it kind of walks you through simple self-tests that you can do at home with tools you pick up at a pharmacy or a health food store. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll have a link in the description below where you can get the whole thing totally for free. And that'll kind of walk you through figuring out, is my body leaning too far on this catabolic side, or am I leaning too far on the anabolic side, and magnesium is really going to help me. But again, if you don't know where your body chemistry is, you're just throwing darts at the remedy dartboard, and you don't know if you're making things better or making things worse. Now, mistake number 3 is taking this magnesium supplement away from food or with digestive malfunctions. So magnesium is a mineral, which means we need that digestive process in action to really assimilate that mineral correctly. Now vitamins and amino acids, we can just put those in and they'll go into the body at any time, but minerals need to be taken with food to really have the proper assimilation. So that also means that if someone has digestive malfunctions, they're not going to be able to assimilate that magnesium and utilize it as well either. And it's very common for people to have digestive malfunctions and not even know it. So if you're dealing with any digestive symptoms at all, burping, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, nausea, acid reflux, indigestion, maybe food just kind of feels like it sits there like a rock in your stomach for hours, or even skin or acne issues, all of these are signs that digestion is not working correctly. So if it's not working correctly, you're going to have to make corrections to be able to assimilate magnesium correctly. The FDA even put out a warning that says prescription proton pump inhibitor or PPI drugs may cause low serum magnesium levels if taken for prolonged periods of time. In approximately a quarter of the cases reviewed, magnesium supplementation alone did not improve low serum magnesium levels, and the PPI had to be discontinued. So this is the case because a PPI medication is used to turn off stomach acid to relieve that symptom of that acid coming back up and burning the person. But without that stomach acid, now we can't break our food down correctly. The problem is a person doesn't need to be taking a PPI. They can have their stomach acid very low for a wide variety of reasons. Stress can turn off our ability to make enough stomach acid. So if the body is not digesting food the way that it should, supplementing with magnesium is a great way to spend money on stuff that's going to go in the toilet. We really want to be able to digest correctly to utilize the magnesium, and we want to take the magnesium while food is available being digested to really assimilate it optimally. And we talked before about taking too much magnesium in the wrong circumstance can just make your food run through the system faster, and now you've made digestion worse. So digestion is an important component when it comes to magnesium supplementation, and if you're dealing with any digestive symptoms, that really needs to be fixed. That book I told you how to get for free, chapters 3 and 4 kind of walk you through figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps you can take to improve those. But that's going to be important to help your body utilize magnesium the right way. Now, mistake number 4 is taking the wrong type of magnesium. Let's jump to the smartboard and look at these different types. So when we're looking at different types of magnesium, just keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I don't want you to stop taking some magnesium that your doctor told you to take without talking to your doctor. I'm not telling anybody to stop taking their PPI. I'm basically just a professional stand-up comic turned nutrition author, because when I lost my voice for 8 years, 23 different doctors couldn't help me figure that out. I had to dig for my own answers. And now for 20 years, I've been teaching health professionals in more than 40 countries how to help their clients fix the actual underlying causes of problems instead of just covering up the symptoms. So when we're looking at these different types of magnesiums, I'll also put the links to the studies that we talk about in the description below this video, so you can dig deeper into that and understand the right questions to ask your doctor. So first, let's look at magnesium taurate. And when we look at this study on magnesium taurate, we see that it really helped people bring down blood pressure. And this is often marketed for calm and for high blood pressure. And what we need to understand is magnesium bound to the amino acid taurine can really help bring down blood pressure, because magnesium has the ability to correct some malfunctions that can elevate blood pressure, but taurine is also really good at bringing down blood pressure. So if someone has high blood pressure, yay, magnesium taurate. But if someone has low blood pressure, magnesium taurate could actually magnify their problems. A lot of people dealing with anxiety are having that anxiety caused by blood pressure being too low and resources being too low. So the magnesium can give them more minerals. That could really help them. But if they're taking a form of magnesium that's going to lower their blood pressure, that has the ability to magnify that problem. So let's look at magnesium glycinate. This is a very popular one, especially with insomnia, relaxation, and sleep. And they say that it's more tolerated in the GI tract than many other forms of magnesium. So let's understand why that is. Remember, when we're looking at this catabolic and anabolic state in the body, we see in this overly catabolic state, the body will send more water to the bowels. So what we need to understand about magnesium glycinate is the glycinate is an amino acid called glycine. Well, glycine is one of the more pro-anabolic amino acids. So now we're using this magnesium that's pro-catabolic, but the glycine is more pro-anabolic, and it can balance out what it's going to do to the body a little bit. This is also why people say use it for sleep, because it's not pushing the body so far into this daytime state, because the glycine is helping to balance things out a little bit. What we like to see people do is work with their natural circadian rhythm. So we like to see them take magnesium at breakfast or maybe at lunch during the daytime when the body is supposed to be in a more catabolic state, and then they could take a glycine at night when the body is supposed to be in a more anabolic state. So again, I'm not going to dig too far into this sleep stuff. There's a lot of more things to understand because you need to understand other imbalances that can create insomnia and why using magnesium would improve those imbalances and help people sleep better even when they take it at night. So I dig deep into that in supplements for sleep. In that video, I share studies that help you understand that. And we can even look at this study on sleep and magnesium, and it says that this systemic review revealed an association between magnesium status and sleep quality, according to the observational studies. So that means they looked at the levels of magnesium in the system, and they saw that, oh yeah, this person has low magnesium and they have trouble sleeping. The problem is blood tests don't really give us an idea of the magnesium in the system, because the magnesium in the blood is a very small amount according to what's in the actual body. And if someone has all their magnesium bound to protein because their blood is leaning too alkaline, it might show that they have enough magnesium, but if the body can't utilize it, that's not really telling us anything. But this study went on to say that while the randomized clinical trial showed an uncertain association between magnesium supplementation and sleep disorders. So when they did studies where they actually showed, okay, let's supplement with magnesium and see does that improve insomnia, they said, yeah, it didn't really show a real thing. So when we understand that some underlying causes of insomnia are going to be greatly helped by supplementing with magnesium, and some of them are going to be made much worse, then we understand why the studies don't really show a lineup of, yeah, you got to supplement with magnesium. But when we look at some of the studies, if 51% of the people slept better supplementing with magnesium and 49% didn't sleep for a week and a half, that study still shows, this study proves that magnesium for sleep is helpful. Well, you just wrecked almost half of the people in the study, but since more people were beneficial, we're going to go ahead and just keep using magnesium for sleep until you're a zombie. So that's kind of how we roll. So instead of using magnesium glycinate at night for sleep, we like a person to look at their body chemistry, know if magnesium is even right for them, and if it is, take it during the day and maybe take some other supplements to push them more into the anabolic state at night. So let's look at magnesium malate, and this is kind of marketed as like, oh, it's going to help your pain and fatigue. And magnesium has the ability to help chronic fatigue syndrome as well as fibromyalgia type issues. I'm not going to dig into that, but I'll have links to those videos where we cover that in depth. But we want to understand that when someone's really stuck in that anabolic state, it can cause the body to make too much lactic acid, and that has the ability to cause a lot of pain. It also has the ability to keep the body from producing energy the way that it's supposed to. It has to create energy through fermentation if it's stuck in that anabolic state. So taking magnesium to pull a person out of that overly anabolic state has the ability to create improvement with those scenarios a lot. We use magnesium malate a lot because the malate is malic acid, and malic acid has the ability to melt down gallstones, according to a lot of people. So if we just want to use a magnesium, we'll often use magnesium malate just in case a person is starting to form some gallstones. That malate can help kind of melt them down and move them through the system. Now, magnesium threonate, a lot of people will say this is good for cognitive support, and most of the studies that have been done on this cognitive benefits of magnesium threonate have been done from the specific product manufacturers or just on animals. So this is still, kind of out there to be determined, but I'm okay with people thinking that that's okay for that. Magnesium citrate is often used for like mood swings and lactic acid being too high and constipation. But again, magnesium citrate is not there to bring lactic acid down. Any form of magnesium is going to be pro-catabolic and help reduce a person from producing lactic acid if that lactic acid is coming from fermentation because they're too far in that anabolic state. We like to use magnesium citrate for people with chronic constipation because it seems to have the best ability to bring more water to the bowels and help those bowels move a little bit easier. But again, when we're fixing chronic constipation, we're also fixing digestive malfunctions that could be contributing to that chronic constipation. Magnesium chloride is really an interesting one. People say, oh, you can use it for heartburn and constipation, and you can even use it topically for pain and kind of things. But what we need to understand is the reason that it would help heartburn or constipation is because the body needs chloride to make that hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Some people can't make enough HCl in the stomach because they don't have the resources to do that. So when you give the body chloride, now it can make that hydrochloric acid and you can fix acid reflux. Acid reflux in most cases is caused by a lack of stomach acid. It's not usually caused by too much stomach acid like advertisers want us to believe. We have lots of videos on that since I lost my voice for 8 years because doctors were just trying to turn off my stomach acid and that didn't fix it. So I'm not going to get into that, but there's lots of videos about that. Also, constipation can be caused from a lack of stomach acid because things move too slow. But here's what we need to understand. Magnesium chloride, in order to use that, you really want to look at your breath rate like we were talking about before. Magnesium chloride has the ability to acidify the blood, which can raise your breath rate. Now keep in mind that just manually changing the rate at which you're breathing is not going to fix these problems that we're talking about. We go over that in more detail in other videos, but the chloride can really help fix an overly alkaline bloodstream. So now it's not going to be all this magnesium bound to protein, and now you can utilize that magnesium a lot more. So if someone has a low breath rate, like down around like 8 or 7 or something like that, and they're overly anabolic, all of a sudden magnesium chloride could really be magic for them. We're working to fix 2 malfunctions in the body. So that's why a lot of people say magnesium chloride is easier to assimilate. It's more bioavailable. Well, it's really just fixing problems for that person that allow them to utilize that magnesium better and fix these magnesium deficiency signs that they're having. So when we're looking at the bioavailable aspects of magnesium, we need to look at more than just the magnesium itself. A lot of people say magnesium oxide is not very bioavailable, but we need to know, can a person acidify their food correctly and break it down correctly? Is their blood leaning too alkaline or too acidic and restricting the magnesium from being used correctly? Now, other forms that I didn't want to dig into too far are lactate. That's a very common magnesium. Lactate is popular. I don't like to use that if someone's dealing with anxiety or chronic pain or fatigue or something, because I don't want to increase the amount of lactic acid in the system. If they're leaning too anabolic, that's likely already high. Aspartate we sometimes use with high blood pressure because that can also help bring down blood pressure. Orotate is one that a lot of people feel like is very bioavailable. And then magnesium sulfate is basically Epsom salt. And magnesium sulfate is magnesium bound to sulfur. And sulfur is also very pro-catabolic, which is why if some people take that, they really create diarrhea. Epsom salt used to say on the package 100 years ago, take a teaspoon in water to fix a gallbladder attack, because it has the ability to kind of create this osmotic pressure that can kind of force those gallstones through and push them out the system. But it usually creates a major diarrhea episode when they do that. Of course, if somebody's having a gallbladder attack, they didn't care. That's what they used to do. I'm not telling you to do that for a gallbladder attack, but they used to put it on the package a long time ago. But it's important to understand that when we put two things together that are very pro-catabolic, it has the ability to send a lot more water to the bowels, and it's more likely to create a diarrhea episode. Most people just use Epsom salt for soaking type things, right? But I just wanted to point out the effects that it can have and why this glycinate might have a little bit of a different effect. And mistake number 5 is to always think that you should be using what's called a pushing dose or having some calcium problems. Some people supplementing with too much calcium also has the ability to force the body to pee out too much magnesium. Similar issues can happen with way too much vitamin D, but also we really create trouble when we don't have enough vitamin D. So that can be important to understand. We have links in the description below about videos on don't take too much vitamin D and why that can be a problem. But when we're looking at a pushing dose, that's somebody taking like a capsule of magnesium. If somebody's just using like a multivitamin with some magnesium in it, or they're eating magnesium-rich foods and their digestion is working correctly, we're not going to create those kind of problems. But we can see that if someone is way too far in that catabolic state, that supplementing with magnesium is not appropriate for them. That doesn't mean their body couldn't use a little bit more magnesium, and they could get that if they improve digestive malfunctions, but forcing the body into a more catabolic state when it's already a problem is going to create bigger issues. They want to fix those problems, fix that imbalance, and then they would qualify to supplement with more magnesium if they felt like they needed that. So you can see this is a really complicated issue, and you're probably going to have to dig deeper to really understand the right steps that are going to be right for you. Otherwise, you're just flipping the coin for your health and saying, oh man, I hope this works out, when you're using a supplement according to a symptom that you're having. You want to use a supplement that's appropriate for the underlying cause that's creating this symptom that you're having. And that can be different from person to person. So we'll have links to the videos on all these different topics in the description below. But since most people use this magnesium for sleep, and they're going to be yelling at me and be like, everybody says you should sleep with it, you can jump over right now and check out that video on better supplements for better sleep to really understand the appropriate way to make that happen. I can't wait to hear about your results.